democracy is changing. And if you're going to get elected, you're not going to get elected as an internationalist. You're not going to get elected as a Europhile or any kind of xenophile. No, you are going to get elected as a hardcore British patriot who honestly makes like some of the things I've been saying recently. Basically, like Starmer's Labour is veering into BNP territory in many places, right? Because of this nativist sentiment. And it's about, frankly, psychological warfare against the establishment.
Well, what an interesting tirade from Carl Benjamin, one of the most notorious Ziobots in this country. He's clearly been drinking from the same Kool-Aid as Tommy Robinson. Probably sent him a bottle over from his state visit to Israel. A state visit from an Irish criminal. Hilarious, isn't it? Yes, of course. And when they're drinking from that, or slurping from the well of Zionism, all manner of hallucinations seem to take place. Carl Benjamin's latest hallucination is that Keir Starmer is like the British National Party waging war on nativism. Absolutely stunning. Just utterly beggars belief. Keir Starmer likened to the British National Party. Well, the British National Party, ethnonationalism, was the ultimate in nativism. It was the nativist movement, the biggest nativist organisation in the country. And to claim that the British National Party was at war with nativism simply just goes to show you the sheer extent of the malevolent attack on ethno-nationalism by these Ziobots. And for Keir Starmer to be lumped in the same category as the BNP is just utterly staggering. Truly it is. He further claimed that the UTK rally on the 13th was attended by nativists only. Really, absolute nonsense. See, I spoke to Dean Neal, who was once very influential with Tommy Robinson. They've since had a major spat on ideological and moral grounds because Tommy is a scumbag grifter, as we know, criminal scumbag grifter, hooked on drugs. And in truth, Dean told me that 40% of the people he spoke to said they were not there for Tommy Robinson in any way, shape or form. They were simply there for England and patriotism and because of the mess the country was in. Nothing to do with Tommy. So the rest of them, nativists, I think we should call them universalists. They're not internationalists, but they're definitely universalists. They've embraced this new cultural Marxist fantasy, in truth, whereby someone can come here from Africa, speak English, and adopt some customs, and then they'll be regarded as English. Well, they can be British, yeah, because anyone can be British. British citizenship means absolutely nothing anymore. But ethnically, only the English can be English. White people, that is. That is nativism, purely nativism. Now, it's oddly enough, this very same point, which the British National Party made repeatedly, Carl Benjamin has also made this point on his Lotus Eaters show, only to contradict it by ranting against the British National Party and ethno-nationalists in general. And they particularly like a good rant about Steve Laws, the e-celeb who's got himself into a bit of trouble by posting some naughty stuff on social media. But then Steve does like to be risque in terms of trying to push not so much the Overton window, but how close he can get to a jail cell, quite frankly. But Carl Benjamin and his laughing chimps, his buffoons on the Lotus Eaters, have all had a good old go at the British National Party and have said, yeah, now we've seen off the BNP threat. Well, who's we? What did the Lotus Eaters do to see off the BNP threat? Absolutely nothing. The BNP was dismantled, flat-packed at the highest level by Nick Griffin. And we all know exactly when that happened. It was at BBC Question Time. That's when the Great Betrayal began. And the BNP disintegrated from that point onwards. At its very height, it simply then started to fall apart because of Nick Griffin, not because of UKIP, not because of Carl Benjamin, not because of the irrelevant Lotus Eaters, which was formed some time after the British National Party collapsed. So, to liken the BNP to Keir Starmer together is just absolutely astonishing. But in truth, it's entirely in keeping with the book Manifesto, apparently written by Tommy Robinson and Peter McLaughlin Pat. Well, McLaughlin, yes. I asked him a question on X and he responded with the block button. You know, these fearless centre-right revolutionaries. Well, he's actually a communist, McLaughlin. He says he's a former communist. There's no such thing as a former communist. He's just a communist, full stop. And in that ridiculous tract of fantasy, he claims the British National Party was openly National Socialist, in essence to the left of Lenin, and it stayed to the left of Lenin, even under Nick Griffin. Yes, the laughter I just cannot conceal because these people are idiots. But they're all Zionist trolls. They're all Zionist Ziobot. That's what they are. You know, and when they're drinking from that poisoned Kool-Aid, any old hallucination will do. And to be told that the British National Party was openly National Socialist and and effectively to the left of Lenin, it's just absolutely hilarious. I was in the British National Party. It was never openly National Socialist. And in 1994, there was a massive schism in the BNP in which the NS factions were expelled in a very unpleasant internal civil war, quite frankly, which got very nasty. And so to claim that the British National Party was openly NS is just absolutely nonsense. It really is. And to claim that the BNP was left-wing is equal nonsense. But it was fake Farage. Yes, that's right. The establishment safety valve operator, Nigel Fake Farage, who's been colluding with Hope Not Hate, that neo-communist organisation, since 2010, that we know for certain. He started off the fantasy about the BNP being socialist and left-wing to keep his deluded Tories on board in the UKIP safety valve operation. And obviously it's been adopted, hasn't it? Cross-transference across the board with the centre-right clouds. And to actually believe that the BNP was left-wing is just absolutely astonishing. When I think back to all of the battles the BNP had with the far left, and as for being in tune with Keir Starmer ideologically, a Trotskyist, well, that's amazing, really, because the BNP was at war with the New Labour regime, and the New Labour regime waged war on the British National Party. So I failed to see what commonality there was there at all in ideological terms, and certainly not in governmental terms either. And in terms of immigration, the BNP was the ultimate anti-immigration party. It was the ultimate nativist movement. And we know for a fact Carl Benjamin is not a nativist. He plays the game. Remember, everything that I've said about the imitation game. Carl Benjamin plays the imitation game with his other daft accomplices on the Lotus Eaters like Bodade, a man who I can't stand, quite frankly. In truth, I'm still waiting for Steve Laws to put me in my place, fella. Which is what Baudet said he was going to do. Well, Baudet couldn't put me in my place in any capacity, intellectually or physically, and neither can Steve Laws. So, you know, what's the point of making such bold statements on social media? Well, bold being the operative, isn't it, with Baudet? And I've seen them when Benjamin has been slating the British National Party and ethno-nationalism and Steve Laws, and effectively look at him for agreement, and he's like nodded like a performing little chimp just to keep his pathetic little minimum wage income from the Lotus Eaters. Same with Harry Robinson as well, you know, and Dan Tubbs, you know, these so-called ethno-nationalists. They're not ethno-nationalists, they've never been an ethno-nationalist organisation. They're also just playing the game, quite frankly. And if they want to stop playing the game, they could join an ethno-nationalist organisation and learn what genuine nativism really is. Because they're not nativists, they don't know what nativism is, they have a vague idea of it, and they're never going to learn about nativism from the likes of Carl Benjamin, the ultimate Ziobot. And as I said, for the ludicrous claim that Carl Benjamin made that the UTK rally on the 13th was organised by Tommy himself and Lawrence Fox is just ridiculous. The man is literally drinking from a Kool-Aid founded on LSD, if you ask me. He's a hanger-on. That's what he does. He hangs on to Tommy's coattail. And he knows that by supporting Tommy and singing his praises, even though he is just an Irish criminal degenerate, grifting large sums of money and leading a luxurious lifestyle, a fact which I approved in the video I published on Rumble, the evidence supports it entirely, simply proves that, when Carl Benjamin is selling morality and ethics courses, is that he needs to attend one himself. Perhaps this is the course he should attend. I can teach him all about ethics and morality because it begins with hypocrisy. Quite frankly, the road of hypocrisy leads to amorality and immorality. Perhaps Benjamin doesn't know the difference between amorality and immorality. Perhaps he does in the academic sense, but not in the practical sense. I don't want to get a bit too complex for him, These Ziobots do tend to crumble when faced with complexity. Unless, of course, it's some ridiculous theory they've hatched on paper about the meaning of life and the universe. Maybe we should read that one by Carl Benjamin. One of his favourite terms is, and it almost makes me want to vomit saying it, my brother in Christ. Excuse me. Honestly, dear oh dear, the typical Zionist gatekeeper. The simple truth is you just don't find pagans and Odinists, hence the pagan background, Stonehenge. Yes, absolutely, it's there for a reason, I do put thought into everything that I do. It's there for a reason, because it's a nativist symbol, is it not? And we're talking about nativism, and Carl Benjamin is not a nativist, he's a Ziobot, paid Ziobot. And his allegation that the British National Party and Keir Starmer are the same thing, or more to the point, Keir Starmer is behaving like the British National Party by waging war on nativism. I think that in itself, should we ever get our hands on the levers of power, is enough to secure a prosecution against Carl Benjamin on any grounds that we see fit, quite frankly. Because that's the way it works when you have hands on the levers of power. It will be along the lines of something to do with treason. I can tell you that for a fact. Just like Tommy Robinson, another traitor. All of these people are traitors. They've all sold out to a hostile foreign power that intends to keep pumping us with mass immigration while pretending to be our friend. Now, in truth, if Zionism is our friend, why did Netanyahu say, well, we can send another 2 to 3 million Palestinians to Europe, no problem at all? Because Israel is the principal problem in the Middle East, causing all of the wars and all of the migration displacements that Benjamin and his little clowns keep ranting about and trying to use nativism to support the rant. Well, if Benjamin wants to have a discussion with me, he's quite welcome to do so. I'll blow him out of the water completely on this allegation that the British National Party, in essence, was left-wing, and that Keir Starmer is behaving like the BNP. It's an absolutely staggering, laughable, utterly laughable organisation. And I'm sure all the former BNP members who watch this channel are just absolutely pissing themselves, quite frankly, for want of a better description. And what else can we say? I've actually been very polite about it, for obvious reasons. But in truth, I have struggled throughout this podcast to keep a straight face. And I'm sure you can understand the reason why. I never knew I was a lefty. I never knew I was to the left of Lenin. And I never knew I had anything in common ideologically with Keir Starmer. But hey, Carl Benjamin's come to sell us an ethics and moralities call, which is a little bit like the Arabs selling sand, isn't it? Thank you for tuning in.